Welcome to another Wichita Toy Train Club product review. I'm Zachariah. Behind the camera we have Chris, and today we're going to be taking a look at the pre-production sample of the Lionel LionChief Plus GP38. Before we take a look at Lionel's model of the GP38, a little bit of history. The EMG GP38 was built between January 1966 and December of 1971 by General Motors Electromotive Division. The locomotive was powered by an EMD 645 16-cylinder diesel engine, which generated over 2,000 horsepower, and over 700 of these were built within that time period. This model was originally cataloged in Lionel's 2017 Volume 2 catalog, and then it was also re-cataloged in Lionel's 2018 Big Book catalog. The minimum curve for this locomotive is 031. It is 14 3/4 inches long. Do we need to mention anything about it being a pre-production sample?
Thought we did.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. I mean, all we said was it was a pre-production sample.
Now let's talk about it.
Okay. So this model is a pre-production Deco pre-production sample from Lionel. Because we're an ambassador club, Lionel's given it to us for the month. We've used it out at our Riverfest here in June in Wichita. Used it quite a bit. When we say pre-production, this is the sample Lionel gets back from the factory to make sure that everything is good to go on the all the decorations, making sure the Santa Fe is the right size, the right color, all those other little ends and bits pieces, you know, the little legible builder's plates or anything like that. This is the sample Lionel gets from the factory to really look at that and make sure it's all good to go before they put the locomotive into production. Now taking a closer look at this model, up front here we have a metal pilot. This is all metal up here. There is some molded in safety tread right up front. Our front electrocoupler. We have a stamped metal deck and handrails. Nice crisp Santa Fe up front on the nose. We have operating headlight up here on the nose and further up top. The marker lights are just clear plastic inserts. They're not operational or anything, but there is some light that will kind of bounce through them from the headlight and the cab light. Up top here we have a small sand fill cap, separately applied grab iron over here, and some small molded in details on the nose and around. And up top here we have lighted number boards. Now looking down the side of the locomotive, right up front here we have our nice silver die-cast metal trucks. Right here we have a legible EMD builder's plate. A nice looking American flag right here. Our cab number, there's a engineer figure on the inside of the cab. The overall side has a very nice looking blue, yellow and blue war bonnet paint scheme with a nice crisp Santa Fe down the side of the locomotive. And all along the side here we have little danger and warning labels that are legible if you get a little bit closer to it. Moving down we have a die-cast metal fuel tank and two air tanks over here on the back side, along with again another one of those nice looking side frames for the rear truck. We've now moved in a little bit closer here and we can see our stamped diamond plate on this stamped deck up here. And as you can see that the handrails are also kind of that stamped deck. It makes them really rigid, so it's not as easy to bend or even break these handrails. So if any small hands or anything, you know, come down, the first thing you want to grab is those handrails right there. I mean, it would take an act to be able to bend those or even break them. Also, since we're in a little bit closer, we can see we have some nice molded in grates on the rear and on the front of the locomotive. Moving up top, right up front here, we have a nice silver horn add-on piece. Moving back, we have some molded in details back here. Right here we have our exhaust stack, and right underneath this is our fan-driven smoke unit. This is kind of a challenge to get any fluid through this grate here. It doesn't remove like some of the higher end Legacy. It tends to make a mess. The best way I've found is to use one of those small needlepoint dispensers to try to get in between those grates. Moving back, we have our 3 radiator fans and some more molded in details. This middle one here does pop off to simulate the dynamic braking, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. As you can see, there is smoke fluid that gets up underneath here just from trying to get up under, get fluid into that smoke unit. Now we flip the engine around, and as you can see, this side is a little bit different. We got some different molded on details going on here. A little piece of plastic goes along here. This whole body is plastic. I don't believe I mentioned that earlier, but we have a whole plastic body, the stamped metal deck, and then the die-cast frame with the fuel tank and the trucks. Now looking on the rear of the locomotive, down here, of course, we have our rear electrocoupler. Again, that same die-cast metal pilot down here with the safety tread right here. Our stamped metal handrails and a bunch of separately applied grab irons going up down this side of the rear. Illuminated number boards on either side, and an operational backup light. These marker lights, again, are just clear plastic inserts. They're not operational or anything. Alright, now we've flipped the locomotive upside down. Up front here, we have our front truck. As you can see, we have our exposed gears here. This is a non-locking gearbox, so you can roll it by hand. It does take some good effort to get it to move. It's also always a good idea with any new engine to always put a little spot of oil right here where the axle goes through that metal frame on each of the 4 axles. So this truck and the rear, and then also right here on the center rail pickup roller. So we got 2 center rail pickup rollers, one up front and one on the rear. Right here in the center, on the inside of the fuel tank, we have the speaker for the sound system, some FCC labeling up top here, and our Bluetooth trademark. Where the air tanks are, we have our 3 command switches. Up top here, we have our remote transformer switch, which allows you to flip between using the remote that came with the locomotive or the LionChief Plus app on your phone, or running it conventionally with just an AC transformer. In the middle here, we have our RPM sound on-off switch. This essentially just turns off that prime mover or the engine sounds from the locomotive, so you will still get your announcements, horn, and bell. And then on the bottom, we have the smoke unit on-off switch. Moving back again, we have the rear truck, just the same as the front, non-locking gearbox, and always remember to put just a little dab of oil right in between where the axle goes through the metal frame. It helps with any squeaking or anything like that. Alright, now we got power to the track, and we have that wonderful chirping noise from the LionChief Plus engine. Go ahead and I'll flip on the remote, and it kicks on. We can run through some of the sounds real quick. The horn. There's the bell. And some of the crew talk.
Please hold at your location. Copy, we're holding.
Alright, now that we got the engine sounds turned down a little bit, you can do that from the remote by holding this here shift key and then turning the knob here, and that allows you to change the volume on the locomotive. This shift key is actually kind of new, or at least to me anyway. The older LionChief Plus engines that we reviewed haven't had that shift key there. So used to be to fire the front or rear coupler, you double tap on the horn or the bell, and now you have to hold the shift key and then hit your forward coupler button, which is actually really nice, because now if you try to do 2 quick blows of the horn, it doesn't fire the coupler on you. Or one of our issues have been is if we're at a show and we're trying to get kids to run these, is they'll just start hitting the horn all the time, and it'll take that as a response to throw the rear coupler 9 times out of 10. I believe the steam engines, the horn is the rear coupler, or the whistle in that case. All right, now that we've gone through the remote, now we're going to look at the Bluetooth capability of this engine. So here we have our iPad here. We'll go ahead and launch the LionChief Plus app. And as soon as it finds the engine, it launches. Turn the sounds down here real quick. All right, now that we got the sounds turned down, as you can see, as soon as you launch it, it finds the engine and the engine starts up. That is just with the iOS version. There is an Android version, but you have to manually come into here and find the locomotive. So here we have our, let me turn up the sound a little bit, sorry. And here we have our horn, bell, our front coupler, rear coupler, and our crew talk. Here's our directional. Currently we're forward. Hit that. Our front headlight turned off and our rear headlight's on now. We go back to forward and we have our throttle knob. We can come into settings and we have options of momentum. So if you want to kind of simulate a slow moving out, we have those momentum options. This here is a speed limit. So if you want to kind of set a speed limit for a youngster or anything like that, we can set that there, and we won't ever be able to go above that speed setting there. We have a toggle for our smoke unit on and off up here. And in our sound settings, we have, of course, our master volume. Turn that up a little bit more. Here we have our background sounds. Turn those, see, we can turn those all the way down. Turn that up. Right here is just the crew talk.
Roger, we're good to go.
So we can,
Clear, proceed. Roger, we're good to go. Clear, proceed. Roger, we're good to go.
we can change the volume of just the crew talk. Here's the bell volume. Or the horn volume. One other neat thing with the LionChief Plus app is we can adjust the pitch of the horn. So here we're here. Pull it down. Now we have a deeper horn. Or now we have a higher pitched horn. Sounds kind of weird if you keep moving it up and down. You gotta find a spot and then just hit it to figure out the pitch. You can also do that with the bell. So that's kind of a neat deal you can do with only the app. And if I remember correctly, if you whenever you leave the app, it will revert back to original sound settings with the remote. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's how that works. And there's the LionChief Plus app. All right, now let's take her for a spin around the layout.
Clear to proceed. Roger, we're good to go. Are we clear through the diamond? Copy that. Clear through my limits.
Now that we've taken the engine for a spin around the layout, you can see and hear this engine runs really nice. I enjoyed playing with the Bluetooth. This is one of the first engines I've been able to mess with that with. Smoke unit worked okay. Seemed like it didn't really seem to put out anything until you started moving, which isn't bad. The MSRP on this locomotive is $350. If you go through any good Lionel dealer, you probably get a pretty decent discount on that retail price. Like I said, this was cataloged in both 2017 Volume 2 and the new 2018 Big Book catalog. I imagine since we have a pre-production Deco sample here that the production samples, or the production engines will probably go into production here fairly soon, so we're probably looking at Christmas before they actually get out on the market. But for when these do actually come out on the market, I think it'll be a really neat engine to get a hold of. This concludes our review of the Lionel pre-production sample of the LionChief Plus GP38 Santa Fe number 3441. We'll leave a link down in the description to Lionel's website so you can see all the features and everything on this model. Remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube for any more updates on reviews, running train videos, and our open hours here in Wichita, Kansas, and always train shows. Thanks for watching.